Hey guys, this is LS, and this video is going to be on coaching, and basically a lot of the comments and questions and stuff that comes with coaching, but also because I'm getting tired of some of the messages that I'm getting, and also some of the stuff that I'm receiving. So first off, I want to start out by saying that coaching is it's not always a player that performs better than another player. Coaching the lesser player. That's not how coaching is. That's number one. Because a lot of the comments that I receive or that I witness on Twitter, like people criticizing Monte Cristo because Monte Cristo doesn't play the game, but how can he be a coach if he doesn't play the game? Or you see people, I've seen people criticize. I saw a tweet about like Leviathan or something, Alliance's coach or something. He got criticized by apparently someone because their coaching session did not immediately turn into this glorified mystical understanding of League of Legends where the person would just climb through Elos and whatever because they did a few coaching sessions or whatever. And then you see these other things like that people, they have the belief that in order to coach you have to be higher than the other person in terms of skill level or something. And then you see comments about how there is no room for coaches in League of Legends because these are those sports fanatics where they claim that in League of Legends, if the coach knows more than the player, then why don't they just play themselves or something? They don't take into account muscle memory, reflexes, ability to play under pressure, ability to read psychological aspects of the laning phase and whatever, in the heat of the moment, whereas the coach can see it from either slower or they see it from a bigger perspective or they see it in a different way or something. There's all these different aspects that go into that. That's why coaches are not always players. And that's why also higher level players can be coached by people that are not necessarily their skill level, but it doesn't really matter. Obviously if you take for example, if you followed me from StarCraft, you might have heard me talk about a player named Yosh. And it's someone that I attribute a lot of my knowledge, but also my coaching method to, and I attribute a lot of the reasoning that I approach games the way that I do, and it's primarily because of him. Yosh, I don't think has touched an RTS or a MOBA or anything in years. He may still play World of Warcraft. If you come from World of Warcraft, he was known as Krajtok. I believe he was one of the best mages in the US. I may be wrong on that. I'm not totally sure. But anyways, if Yosh were to come back to League of Legends or something, right, a completely new game, all right, and he were to play it for 3 to 6 months, I would take coaching from Yosh, and and I would suggest people to probably take coaching from Yosh, and the reasoning is because he knows how to approach stuff, and he knows how to guide people, and he knows how to break something down and reverse engineer it, and he also knows how to approach things. So even if in 3 months or 6 months he was not this challenger player, this Diamond 1 player, or anything of that nature. His knowledge and his input and his ability to educate and his ability to coach and his ability to get people to understand something and his ability to take something and find out why it works the way that it does. For instance, like Maokai, becoming a meta trend the way that he did. I would put more faith in Yosh being able to break down all the logic and the reasoning behind it and understand why the comp works the way that it does with him, why he fits in terms of damage and analytics and purple and blue and blah, 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 and objective control, etc. I would put more faith into him breaking it down and analyzing it than most current coaches in the scene if, he was given, a few months to understand League and whatever. And that comes again from his understanding of games. It has nothing to do with his ability to play League of Legends. It just has to do with games. So as long as he has enough time to get core concepts, core fundamentals, core understanding, blah, 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 blah. Even if he only plays the game at a gold level, if he made it his goal to be an educator and a coach, that's kind of what would happen. That's why skill it translates over, to different games. Now it doesn't always mean that you'll be a pro gamer. Like if you're a pro gamer in StarCraft 2, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a pro gamer in League of Legends. You're a pro gamer in League, it doesn't mean you can go to StarCraft 2 and be a pro gamer. But historically, if you look all at video games, eSports in particular, anyone who was a high player in one game, if they transitioned to another game, even if they never got to pro gamer stature, they usually get to a very high level. So that's what I mean by that. And that has nothing to do with anything other than skill translates over from different games. And I've talked about this a lot in my past vlogs, like with saying how I can apply stuff from StarCraft, Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering, Super Smash Brothers, Yu-Gi-Oh, everything, like StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2, whatever, to League of Legends. In the same way, if I were to go back to any of those games, I could apply stuff from League to those games, and it would help me and it would accelerate me into understanding why stuff works the way that it does. And if something new comes out, okay, and it reminds me of something from StarCraft, or it reminds me from something StarCraft 2, or it reminds me from something that happened in Magic, even a card game, it doesn't even apply to a MOBA, it might help me to understand and break it down better, and thus allowing me to know more about it on a bigger level. So anyways, I just want to address that point. You do not have to be as good or better than the person that you're coaching in terms of like a mechanical level or a skill level or a tier level. This does not, however, mean that a silver or a gold, okay, who it is not their entire life to study analytics, coaching, understanding the meta, understanding things, you know, and why they work the way that they do, should go off half-cocked and begin teaching diamonds and platinums and, you know, higher level gold players, challengers, pro gamers, etc. It does not mean that that should happen. But when you have people who they make their life around analytics and coaching and understanding the meta and understanding the game, etc., it doesn't matter if they play the game or not. That's actually that's the truth of it. If they have some sort of core fundamentals and then they transition that over into becoming a core component of their job, and their job being a coach or an analyst or something, all is fine. So people should stop writing those comments. The other thing that I want to address is that a lot of people they'll post. Now this goes back to something about the Leviathan Alliance Leviathan, okay? But also because of me, because I see these comments pop up in my YouTube channel a lot. I see them pop up on Facebook. I see them pop up on Skype. I see it pop up in Twitch chat. And maybe some of the times it's just a troll, but I know that there are people that genuinely believe that. Sometimes people will comment like, does coaching actually even help? Or like, this person bought an hour of coaching and they didn't seem to improve that much. To which I would, respond to them if I, was in a Skype call or something with them. If you go and get a guitar lesson for 1 hour, are you gonna suddenly go and play in a band and be really fucking good? No, you're not. Of course you're not. If you go and get a fucking tennis lesson for an hour, you're not gonna suddenly start hitting the fucking ball like you're a tennis pro. If you go and pick up a baseball and you start baseball lessons for an hour, you're not gonna you go and be the next Babe Ruth, fucking Mickey Mantle, or like Derek Jeter, or like, I can keep listing random names, whatever. And you go and get football lessons or something, right? You go and get football coaching. You're not suddenly going to turn into an amazing player in 1 hour. However, okay, now a lot of the other things is that people, they criticize or complain about the rates in which these lessons are charged and whatever. If you ever go to private one-on-one tutoring stuff, one-on-one coaching, one-on-one, anything, those rates are normal. But if you go to group mass things where the coach has, 30 people or something paying a similar price or something, yeah, the rate is much more affordable. But if you want one-on-one time with that coach, traditionally it's always more expensive. So one thing is that a lot of people, they come to me and they're like, I want to get, 3 hours of coaching and I want to go from gold 5 to platinum 5 or something. And like, I saw that one guy that you coached and he went from like gold X to platinum X in like a week or 2 weeks, and I'm like, if a math teacher teaches a classroom of 20 kids, we'll just say calculus. Okay, we'll use calculus as an example. Maybe like 2 or 3 kids inside of that classroom instantaneously just pick it up. They know everything that she said as if like they were the ones teaching the class. They just get it. And then you're gonna have some kids that struggle for a little bit, and then they're gonna get it as well. And then you have the kids that they're like really struggling, but maybe they'll eventually pick it up and they'll squeeze by. And then you have the kids that almost no matter how hard they try, no matter how much tutoring like that person goes through, it doesn't click. For some reason it's not clicking. Like they'll do it sometimes and then 5 minutes later they'll mess up and they'll make a mistake. And like that's just how it like continues to happen. So with that being said, like sometimes like I'll coach someone, okay, and I can tell that either there's going to be a giant improvement off the session, or they're struggling to understand, or it's not really translating through that well. And then if I have like another session with them, like they're on multiple hours or something, I can try to change. I'll try to I'll try to work with them and coordinate something that might hit better, it might work better, etc. Which is why as a coach throughout the last few months, if you've been following me or something, you've probably noticed that I have a plethora of different methods in which I can teach for someone. So with that being said, people sometimes come to me with these unrealistic expectations, and they also put this unrealistic expectation on themselves where they think that magically 1 or 3 hours of coaching will make them go from silver 1 to platinum or silver 1 to diamond, and it doesn't work like that. That's not how it works. Now, the one beneficial thing about eSports versus real sports coaching, okay, is that eSports is technically all intellectual. It's all knowledge-based. It all takes place here and in the hands, okay, because of your mouse and your keyboard. So with that being said, I believe that there is a heightened or a speedier response, or that the coaching can have a more quick effect or a more rapid effect, and it's definitely it's more lasting in some ways, but it also deteriorates quicker in terms of mechanics or something. If you go in, you learn how to ride a bike or something, and then eventually you get to the point where you can ride no-handed and you can do like tricks on the bike, you can jump, etc. When you go to pick up the bike again, yeah, you're probably gonna be able to ride the bike, and then after like maybe an hour or two of riding or something, you'll probably be able to ride no-handed again. And then maybe you can do some hops on the bike or something weird, but you won't be able to do like bike tricks for a little while, okay? But the difference in like esports is that your mechanical skill deteriorates rapidly in terms of muscle memory. And then on top of that, the other thing is that the metas change and the strategies change and the champions, if we're talking about league or something, champions change, and everything changes. And it makes it very awkward to ride the bike again. Anyways, basically what I'm trying to say is that a lot of people, they have unrealistic expectations on coaching, and my goal with coaching, okay, is that basically a lot of the people comment that sometimes it seems like I overload the student with information. And sometimes that is true, but that's because I have only a limited amount of time with that person, okay? And I want them to try to get the most information that they can out of the lesson. And then on top of that, I also will redirect them to other lessons that I've done that I feel like, it could be beneficial to them, and, I'll try to offer suggestions on what they could do, because I simply don't have the time to sit with them like 8 hours a day, every day for, months on end or something. Because that's just not my line of work, technically, right? I come in for a few hours, I fix errors, I fix things, and I give them a book on how to better themselves as a player. Because my philosophy is that Faker did not become Faker with the assistance of a coach. Apto did not become Apto with the assistance of a coach. A lot of players that you see rise to stardom did not do it with the assistance of a coach. Some of them did it with the assistance of friends. Who were of a higher caliber. And what I mean by that is, let's look at, I'll use Mata as an example. Or actually, no, I won't use Mata as an example, because Mata's pretty good. I'll use Mingu, he was the former support before Mata. on Samsung, and basically he got into the position that he was in because Imp, as his AD carry, guided him through a lot of support things. Like, he just, told him a ton of shit. And because they're solo queue, duo queuing or whatever, hours a day on end over the course of many, many days, months, weeks, months, whatever, he learned technically what he would normally have to pay a coach for. But it was because he was in that position of talent meets opportunity meets position of power, that he was able to receive something that's very similar to coaching but not coaching directly. And that's how you have the birth of players like that. But without that, similarly, coaching can be used to, assist someone over a hump or like a bad phase or something. And then going back to my belief is, I want to give someone in the past I always used like Bible. I always said like I want to give someone a Bible of information which will apply to them months down the road. It does not just apply in their current or in their now. And I always do want to assess based on a player's skill level and what I'm seeing with their flaws, like what they could be doing better as a player, and then try to have them address that and whatever. And because, again, I recognize that there's only a few hours being had with that person, I have to focus on what I deem, okay, and just my opinion, what is the most important for that player to work on and recognize. And like all things, the goal of coaching is not to make them cheat through an LO. It's not to make them cheat through, winning victories or something. I mean, obviously, I guess that ties back into cheating in LO, but I don't know. The whole thing is to make them grow as a player, and it's to have a slow and steady, growth up the mountain, rather than, you go up the mountain and then you either fall again or you just go and then you flatline. I don't like teaching people how to spike and flatline. My goal as a coach is to teach them to slowly, continuously climb. Even if that climb is really, really slow and it takes months, I would rather have that than, okay, so basically, I would rather have someone go from gold 5 to gold 1 in 2 months than have someone go from gold 5 to gold 3 in 2 days. And then flatline for the rest of, for the next 2 months or something. And I say this because it's just not good to artificially improve someone's elo in a coaching session, even if it can be done, through abusive methods of climbing elos or through strategies that are applied to individual elos or particular circumstances, etc. So, I hope that all makes sense, and I hope this addresses some issues on coaching. But the other thing is, I've said this in the StarCraft video, and I'm going to wrap this up because I don't want this vlog to be too long. A lot of Diamond 1 and Challengers, they come to me, and they ask for coaching because they want to be a pro gamer. And this is something that, again, if you followed me from StarCraft, you've probably heard me talk about, where being a pro is not your choice. Similar to how the NFL and Major League Baseball, the NHL, etc. It's not a choice. Now, first off, the stars have to align, and what I mean by that is it has to be opportunistic for you to become a pro. In the sense that, like, if we're talking about League of Legends, maybe the meta has to favor you, or the champions have to favor you, or how everything's being played has to favor you, the items have to favor you. Whatever. And, what's deemed good has to favor you. And then on top of that, you have to have obviously hit that skill level at which you're able to be, guided into, going into the pro level, etc. But you also have to have the talent to do it. And talent is a controversial subject inside of eSports and stuff. You have, big name figures like in StarCraft 2, I don't know if I've seen it inside of League of Legends that much, but there was a player in StarCraft 2 named Idra. A lot of people, you probably heard his name, Greg Idra Fields, who many times said talent doesn't exist, which is it's pretty bullshit. Because my counterplay to talent, okay, is like genius. Genius is the living proof that talent exists, and not in an academic sense, but there's no denying that if you go into a classroom, in school or something, and you have a kid that sits there with one ear open and he's like on his phone, etc., and the teacher's talking, and then he aces every test and he aces every homework assignment and he aces every project, and he's not doing anything. He's just a genius, like in terms of like how his brain works, how it perceives stuff, his memory retention, his ability to recall memory, the speed at which everything thinks and processes, whatever. And then you have the other kid in the classroom who is studying their ass off, and they go home and they study and they keep studying, etc., and they still only manage to come up with like a C or a B. Are you gonna say that genius is the living embodiment of talent, and it exists in everything. Everything there is genius. There will be a genius, and then amongst all genius is genius. And what I mean by that is if you take 100 geniuses and you put them all in a room, amongst them is one that is superior to all others. And that's similar to like Faker in mid lane. When he held his dominance, for the extended period of time. There was obviously all the top mid laners in the world are something special, but then Faker was something special above all them. And eventually Faker will be replaced, and then whoever replaces Faker will be replaced, and it'll be a never-ending cycle. I don't know why I got into this rant, but basically talent exists, and if you don't think that it does, you're foolish, or you're kidding yourself, basically. But you can't know if you have the talent until you try. So don't ever not try something, but don't be foolish. Obviously, like sometimes I have people, they come to me or something, and they say they want to be a pro, but they've been playing League of Legends for 3 years and they're only gold. I've coached people that have been playing for 2 months and they're platinum. So it's you can't deny that some people just have an innate ability to do things better than others. And maybe if your forte is not X, maybe it's Y, and maybe the person that is so much better than you at X is nowhere near you inside of Y, and that's just what we call life.